morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time set for the City Council meeting to begin, and this meeting has been properly noticed and posted and is in compliance with the open meeting law. This also is a historic day for the City of Las Vegas, whereby these proceedings are being videotaped by the UNLV Communications Department and are going to be rebroadcast the day following the meeting, this particular meeting, and then subsequent the meetings will be shown at a time that will be told to us by Steve Shore. We do have with us today, before we get started, Steve Shore and Gage Chappell, the Dean of the Communications Department, and Steve and Gage would like to come forward and make a few comments, and then we'll get started with the regular portion of the meeting. O'clock in the council chambers on the 29th. That way, if anybody has anything on the weekend, then they're free. In the council chambers. Okay. The next item is the administrative agenda. We had an abeyance item on discussion and action on reimbursement of funds to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department for crowd control at a Streetwise Alive program activity. At the last meeting, we held this in abeyance so that we could have a representative from Streetwise Alive here, and the board could address some questions that they have. Lawrence, could you come forward? Randy, is there anything you want to add to what we already have in our backup?
No, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, gentlemen of council.
Good morning. Can we have your address for the record name?
Yes. My name is Lawrence Thomas, address 953 East Sahara, Suite E15A.
Okay. There are comments from the board on the request?
I have the same comments I had last time. I don't think it's correct or proper for us to take money that could be in general fund, even though we call it a multi-purpose special revenue fund. I feel it's wrong to do that. I also have to ask, where do we draw the line? Where do we stop? If we start funding these type of things, then who's next? You know, the Elks have their parade every year. We've always turned them down when they've asked for some kind of relief or waiver from what Metro charges them. We've got many good community-related events, such as this one, and how do you say no to any of them? And I think it's a dangerous precedent to start setting. Plus, I'd like to ask staff, what is the figure that they're asking for, $954 or $1,422?
I believe that the revised request is $1,422. That's the two events that they held. One, of course, you can see in the backup, the one event, according to the information they provided us, they lost money. The second event, however, they did have a small profit on that event, but nevertheless, they're asking us to pay Metro for both events for crowd control.
Your Honor?
Council Miller.
I think that the council is between a rock and a hard place here. What we've got is a situation where we need activities for youth in the community, but yet there's a problem with the fact that we have got to cause there to be the payment to Metropolitan Police Department of some rather large sums of money for crowd control or security. I'm going back in my own history, and I ran the dances in the city for over 10 years back in the 60s. In those years, we could hire moonlighting police officers or peace officers who would operate through various security agencies, and we were paying them at the time, if I recall, about $10 or $11 an hour, which was pretty high in those years, but yet we still had the quality of crowd control that we needed. Here, in this instance, I'm looking at $954 for one dance, including one sergeant at $38 per hour and 6 officers at $29 per hour, though that in this day and age, for the amount of inflation that's taken place, seems to still be a good deal. I am, at this point in time, questioning the reason that the Metropolitan Police Department is still requiring this particular type of security to be present at dances, where there are probably at least 2 or 3 agencies that are privately owned within the community that hire qualified security officers and personnel who can handle these. And I'm wondering, though, if, and in this instance with Mr. Lawrence, were you operating under the dance hall ordinance or the teenage nightclub ordinance in this regard, in this instance?
Both of those events were held at the Clark County School District facilities, one at Las Vegas High School Auditorium and the other at Clark High School Auditorium, and it was their requirement. Since it had never been done before, we were trying to get the school district to allow us to use the buildings, the school buildings that are not used when they're closed or on the weekends, to hold events for the youth. And since this was the first time and they were somewhat scared as to what would happen, they required that we have that kind of security, or either we could not put on the event, which put us way out of budget, you know, but we wanted to prove that we could get the youth there and they could have a good time without any trouble, and so we had to meet that compliance.
I understand, so it wasn't required by either the ordinance or the fact that you were holding a concert. This was a dance, which under our normal laws allow you to use private security, but the school district then was responsible for causing you to bring in Metro.
Yes, sir.
I would sure hope in the future that Metro would have less than 6 or 7 officers be mandated to be at one of these events, maybe 1 or 2, which would bring it to an affordable level for you, and that way then you can hire an additional 5 or 6 private security officers. But I know there's still some consternation on the part of Metro to put their officers in a position of supervising individuals who are not under their complete control and auspices. So I'm not saying there's a remedy yet, but I wanted to air what's going on here and let people know that there is a problem, and it's cause for there being so few activities for youth here in the community, because $954 is enough to, I'm sure, shut you down. And it's just not fair to you, and I'm at this point going to leave it up to the wisdom of this board to decide just what we're going to do about this, but I can sure see why you're here and totally empathize with the fact that you're here.
Thank you.
Councilman Higginson?
Were the number of officers that you had to have, was the number required by the school district? Did they tell you how many, or was that the Metro's decision?
Yes, sir. No, the school district told me how many I needed for each event. And
So they've helped create the bill.
yes.
And they
What's
charge
been
you
the
rent, too.
What's been the response since you had the dance from the school district? They feel it was successful, and maybe next time you won't need to get Metro, you can hire a private firm. Have you had any communication with them?
Yes, sir. They feel it was very successful. Metro even made the comment. We had our own personal security there also from Streetwise Alive. And the Metro officers, the sergeant that was on duty, made the comment that it was the best run function for youth that he has ever participated in, and that he didn't feel that all of that security was necessary.
Right, I'm wondering with the school district, because they're the one that created the request. If you went to them today and asked to have another dance, would they say they want the same complement of officers, or would they allow you to hire other security firms, or would they let your own security suffice?
I think that they would leave the security requests up to me from now on.
Do you think they would in the future?
Yes.
Councilman Adams?
Yes. Was there any indication by city staff or anyone on the city council prior to the event that this security bill would be paid for by the city council?
No, it wasn't. The only reason that I'm here is because our Vice President of Public Relations is Roy Purcell. And Roy, we have met with most of the city council, and he said that possibly we could get some assistance on this, since Streetwise Alive is basically right now we're a hand-to-mouth organization. We're trying to put things together.
Well, I'm familiar with your program, and I've seen some information on it. I think it's going to have a very positive impact on the youth in our society. My question is, have you approached the county and the school district and have arranged possibly some type of sharing of these expenses, or are you wishing to place the entire burden on us?
No, I haven't. I haven't approached anyone else.
Along that same line, Councilman, the concern I have is I look at the billing and the monies that they had to pay out. They had to pay a total of $904 to the school district to rent the facilities. And if this is a, a community-type event that is supposed to be helping people, and certainly, my comments have nothing to do with not being supportive of your program.
Yes,
My
sir.
comments, the concern I have is the city setting the dangerous precedent of funding this for you. And then the next group comes in and says, well, you gave it to them, why can't you give it to us? And where do we stop? Where do we draw the line?
Yes, sir.
And I look at that and I see that, the school district themselves made $904 off these two events.
When you look at the good that comes from these kinds of events, the amount of monies that are being asked of us in comparison to the amounts of money that it would have cost the taxpayers to chase these kids around town if they have nothing to do and they're out and about on a Friday or Saturday night, this is minimal compared to the amount of cost it would be to the taxpayers to not have these events.
I'm not arguing that point. The dollar amount has nothing to do with this. I would have the same comments and feelings if he were here asking for $100 or $200. It's the precedent that we set, and when we fund this, then how do we tell someone else, well, your program is not as good as his or anything like that? That's the concern that I have about this, and it's just, the school district, in my opinion, should waive their rental fee on that, because it's certainly a positive thing for the students.
Well, thank you. I
They
appreciate
should
that
certainly be
comment.
working hand in hand with us.
I think the one thing that we all recognize is that we have to find alternative things for the youth to do to keep them out of the gangs, keep them off of drugs, and to get them to have the type of education we want to see the youth have for a good quality life. I think, Lawrence, I've been to some of your programs. You run a good program. I think this being your first time in the school district and not knowing if we're going to have any problems with gangs that could show up and create a disturbance that would hamper future programs, that Metro was just trying to take the safe way to do this. And I'm going to recommend to the board that we approve the request and help you out, but in the future, if you're going to be asking us for any assistance, that you also ask the county and the school district so that they participate. I think if we're going to address the problem, everybody's going to have to be part of the solution.
Yes, sir.
And I think the city can do its part today by helping alleviate some of your problem where you can't see a little profit from your program.
Greatly
I
appreciate
only
it.
want to say that my no vote has nothing to do with your program. I'm
Yes, sir.
supportive of your program. It's only the fact that the city is setting a dangerous precedent, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. Councilman.
Just one comment, Your Honor. Could we, in fact, not, as a part of the motion, request Mr. Lawrence to write a letter to the school district asking for a refund of the rental that he paid for the school gym?
I think so, and I believe that I will also personally contact school board members and see if they can't work with you to reduce that fee or don't even charge you that fee, because I think the program's so important that somebody like yourself or other agencies are trying to work with the youth to get them into programs is important. We can't discourage that. We should be encouraging it.
Thank you.
Cast your vote on the motion. Opposed? Motion's approved.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Item B is discussion and possible action on a resolution supporting diesel-powered motor vehicle inspection program.